What's up, everybody?
What up?
Hey, it's Pre-PA here, Beth.
And Hump Day, Katie.
Yeah. What?
I don't know why I said
Okay,
that.
just replay.
I got excited.
That's a problem with this live stuff. I don't know what that was about. But okay.
I just meant to say hi.
Yes, that's right. We're just super excited to be here tonight, guys. It's late where we are. We're on what, Eastern time?
Eastern, yeah.
So it's a little bit late. We need our beauty
And
sleep.
late for these old people mean like it's 9 p.m. here.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, I have a bedtime now. I don't know about you, but
Yep, same.
it's hard getting old, guys. Hard getting old.
Where are you guys? Type it in the chat.
Yeah, where are you from? Hey. Okay. So what we wanted to do today is yesterday I kind of told a little bit about my story, but today I want you to hear Katie's story because I think we were like destined to be friends and business partners and everything because she has kind of like a gypsy childhood story too, and she's like. And her PA is like totally different journey than mine, and her experience is totally different than mine. So just something that I think was just kind of fun to go through. So hey Jenna,
Hi, Jenna.
hey, welcome. And so I just want you guys to hear it because it's just a fun story. It's one of my favorite things about her.
Kaylee Katz!
Yes, hey! She's just different, like, in a good way. And so I love it. So tell us a little bit about your journey to, like, PA school, medicine, and that kind of stuff.
Sure. So I grew up kind of like traveling all over the U.S., the southern U.S. My dad owned a business and it was a traveling business. So we just kind of traveled everywhere along with his business. I have always loved medicine. I remember when I was like really little, they had one of those toy stethoscopes and I listened to my own heart with it.
And I tried that. It's hard.
Yes, but it was like fascinating because I actually like heard something through that stethoscope. Yeah. And so I've always loved medicine. I always knew I was going to go into medicine, but I didn't actually hear about the PA profession until I was a sophomore in college and in undergrad. And one of my lab partners, we were talking about what our plans were for the future, and I was like, well, I think I'm going to go to med school. And he's like, why aren't you going to be a PA? And I'm like, what's a PA? I don't know what that is.
Ding, ding,
yeah.
ding.
And the
like
more
fate at work, guys.
Yes, yeah.
Fate at work.
Hi.
Hey, Elena.
And so the more I researched about it, the more I like fell in love with the profession. And I have shiny object syndrome, meaning like I want to do it all. And so the PA profession was perfect blend of medicine and then switching between specialties whenever I wanted to, whenever I got bored with one particular specialty.
Now, wait, though. Before you want to be a PA, wasn't there a time you were going to be in the circus?
Oh, yes.
Wait.
So I was briefly in the circus, actually.
Right? That's so much fun.
That's where I found out I was afraid of heights, actually.
On the top of the trapeze bar?
was in the circus, yeah. So I spent about a week in the circus, and then that was short-lived.
Listen, but you had like no like circus training, right? You just
No.
joined?
I just went and I was like, oh, I'm great at trapeze. Put me up there. I can do it. Nope.
She doesn't even like to stand on like a 2-foot dock and like
No,
jump into the
no.
water. So I wish I could have been there for that. But the good news is it kind of brought you to being a PA.
So my husband calls me the most adventurous chicken he's ever met. And so I'm extremely adventurous. I've been skydiving and all over the world and that sort of thing. But it takes me a hot minute to do anything that's thrill-seeking. I love it afterwards. But it does take me a minute to jump from the top of a waterfall, for instance. Or like an hour.
Yeah, sometimes an hour. Sometimes we push her off. I mean, you know what are friends for, right? Okay. All right, so after PA school, hey Julie, tell us like what about your first job? Because her first job was super interesting.
Yeah, so my first job was in correctional medicine, and I loved
Jail.
it. Yes, the jail. So I worked at 2 jails, local jails. One was a male jail, one was a female jail. That rhymes. And I was their very first provider, mid-level provider, and the only one for all of these inmates. And it was a fantastic mission field. I love working with the prisoners. For a lot of them, it's the first time they've been, free of drugs and alcohol, even though it's forced on them. But free of it for a certain period of time to where you can actually level with them about, medical diagnoses and addiction. And so I loved it. It was amazing. So that was my first position.
I love it. Okay, and so then you transitioned to the ER?
To ER. So I've been in emergency medicine for the past 10 years, and actually for the past few years I've been really burnt out of emergency medicine. It's really, it's challenging. It's so exciting and it's so fun, and you see a variety of different things, so there's not really any time to get bored. But the past few years have been a challenge. The particular ER where I've worked was inundated with patients, so it's extremely stressful, not enough resources. So for the past years I've been a little bit burnt out, so that's why I transitioned away from ER. Currently I'm in urgent care, and I also work in aesthetics and dabble in sexual medicine and regenerative medicine and all the fun stuff.
Yeah, so it's so cool how you kind of started correctional and then you went to ER and then now you're doing like some aesthetics and some sexual stuff. So it's just kind of interesting how we can just change career types. And so I think that's really cool. So that was Katie's journey. And then let's see, after PA school though, you went and you got your doctorate, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So what sparked that?
I love education.
How much would you guys save for the application process to PA schools? Do you mean like moolah? Is that what you mean? Save?
I think that's what they mean, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it depends on how many schools you apply to, because each school is a fee. We suggest 5 to 8, no more than 10 schools.
Yeah, because it can get really expensive. And if you think about, like, we're in COVID now, but like pre-COVID and post-COVID, hopefully, you might have to fly out for interviews. And so you're talking about plane tickets. You're talking about maybe meals, maybe Uber, I don't know, maybe a hotel room or something like that. So it's going to cost some money. And so taking the time to do it right the first time, okay, and get the resources you need and get the help you need before you apply is going to save you money in the long term, okay? Not only for the admission process money, but if you have to wait a whole nother year to get in PA school, that's a whole year of PA salary. So that's $100,000 that you can never get back because you started your PA journey a year after or 2 years after or whatever. So we just say a lot of people are just like, oh, I want to be a PA, and they get so excited and they just, the first application, they just go for it, right? But then they think about it, they're like, oh, like we talked to a student and she didn't even research the schools that she applied to and realized that she wasn't qualified for a couple of them. And so that's a no-go right there. And so just, budget, I would budget a couple $1,000s because you need to get an interview suit. Okay, you might have to fly somewhere. You might have to drive somewhere. It's going to be a couple $100s for CASPA. If you have to send your GRE to more than a certain number of schools, they charge for that. Transcripts. A lot of schools charge supplemental fees, like has a supplemental application fee of like $60, $80. Some are even like $100. And so those kind of things add up. So the big thing we can tell you about that is be strategic about the schools you apply to. Make sure you're qualified. The more highly qualified you are, the more likely you are. And then now you kind of get a little bit lucky with that if it's a virtual interview because you don't have to fly out, but expect that to change as soon as the world changes. The vaccines have come out. And so just be aware that if you don't have the financial resources to fly out to 15 schools, then just save your money and apply to 7 instead, and just focus your money and your resources and your intenseness on those schools. Okay.
Hi.
Hey. Awesome. Any other questions about the application process? So a lot of application that kind of closed in December and the new ones are opening soon. So this is a really, really, really great time. One thing that we just want to stress to you guys, apply early, okay? So a lot of schools do rolling admissions, which means that they kind of accept students as they apply. So if you're in the first interview group, imagine this. You have a 50-seat PA school and you're in the first interview group, all 50 seats are open. Okay, if you apply late and you're in the last interview group, maybe only 6 seats are open. Like, what's a better ratio, 50 out of 50 or 6 out of 50? So applying early in a lot of schools can actually help if they do rolling admissions.
How did you guys gain patient care hours? So when I was in undergrad, there was a pre-PA club, and there was a program called DRAPES program, and I think that they actually have them at multiple large universities. So the DRAPES program is associated with a certain set of doctors who, or PAs who want to bring in students and train them in whatever their specialty is. And so I worked under a doctor in dermatology, and I was actually doing biopsies. I was actually suturing. So before I even got to PA school, I had hands-on procedural experience, which was huge. I'm forever thankful for that experience. So look up the DRAPES program. Hopefully it's in your state.
Yeah, and this sounds harder than it is, but a lot of students go and get like a CNA license. It can just take sometimes a couple weeks. Even an EMTB, like a basic EMT, can take 6 to 12 weeks. And so if you kind of get that going on during the summer or something, then work a few hours. Even just a few hours a week is really going to add up. A lot of places will hire you as a medical assistant without any degree, even though there is an MA degree, because you can be cheaper. And so my orthopedic practice does that a lot. Hires like high school kids or college kids kids because they can pay them cheaper, but on the thought that, hey, we're going to give them letters of recommendation if they're good, and they're going to gain these patient care hours, that kind of thing.
So be on your game.
How many patient care hours do you recommend in order to be competitive if your GPA? Okay, so if your GPA is low, you need to be stellar in everything else. So if your GPA is low, and just honestly decide, and it's going to be different for the schools, then you need a couple thousand hours of patient care. So if you have a low GPA, let's say you have, 2.8, then you need to be thinking, okay, I want to get at least 1,000, even better over 2,000. Because I don't know if there's any school that requires more than...
No, I think there might be one that required 2,500.
Okay, yeah. So just honestly, like, everybody's not going to be great at everything. Nobody's perfect, but if you're low in certain areas, then you just need to be really, really high in the other areas. And it also caution you, if you're low in GPA, then apply to schools that have a higher requirement for patient care hours, because you'll qualify for that and other students won't with a 4.0. Okay, so just kind of match your school's application to your strengths. So if your school says, hey, we really, really love patient care hours, we're going to require a lot, apply to that school. If they say, hey, we want a 3.5, then don't worry about that school. Okay, so kind of match what your strengths are to what the school is looking for, because every school has kind of different requirements. Okay. You wave. Oh, we waved PA Study Buddy. That's cute. Study Buddy. Do you guys remember what the Study Buddies were? Like, they were like those pillows that you could like hug or something?
Nope, that's just in Germany.
I swear that was like a thing. It was like maybe not. What do you guys consider a competitive? Okay.
Verbal and quantitative greater than 306 is competitive. Combined is competitive. Yep.
And you want an analytical writing of 4.0 or above. So 4.0, 4.5, you're going to be solid for any school that you apply to. Okay.
Difference between science GPA and overall GPA.
Oh, yeah. So this is actually calculated by CASPA, and there's so many different ways you can do it. You can do like the BCP, the biology, chemistry, physics. You can do science GPA. And so really, really focus on science GPA, because that's going to be a big thing. Now, the way CASPA does it, let's say if you retake a course, your university is going to replace, let's say you got a C and then you get an A, is going to replace that C with an A. CASPA doesn't do that. They take both the C and the A and they average it. Okay, so your CASPA science GPA might be different than like the one you calculate off your transcript. Okay, so kind of keep that in mind. But most people really look at the science GPA, because we're not super excited about what you got in your history class. Okay, it's just the truth.
Another
right?
C here,
right? Still made it. Still amazing PA. Yep. It can happen. We're not perfect. But your science GPA, they really do look at, and it's not because they think that you're not a smart student or whatever, but we just, every year, some students don't make it through programs, and they just don't want to accept someone and have you have on that student debt and all that stress and move to a new city if they don't think you're going to succeed. And most students who have trouble trouble in the first semester of PA school. That's your basic sciences, your anatomy, your physiology, maybe your genetics, and they just don't want to accept you if they're worried. So if they think that maybe you can't handle the science load, then they won't accept you. They'll accept a different candidate. Okay. Follow up to that, what are the core science classes? Okay, so every school has different.
AMP 1 and 2. Yes, they are different. Mostly AMP 1 and 2.
Rock those.
With labs. Make sure that's what we look at. So yes. Really, you have to do well in those. Bio 1 and 2 with labs. Chem 1 and 2 with labs. Some programs require genetics. Some require biochem. But the AMP biochem combination, almost every school requires that.
Yeah.
As your core science courses.
Yeah. And then anything you take above that is gravy, because we look and see, well, have they taken any other higher level classes? Wow, they took cell, they took micro. And some schools require that, but again, some don't. So the more you take, we're like, they really care. They're really interested. And it's just, to be honest, one less thing you got to learn in PA school, right?
Yes.
So if you know 1%, then you only got to learn 99%.
You're ahead of the game.
That's right. You're ahead of the game. Because when you do like pharmacology and stuff, if you haven't taken micro, whoa. Okay. So pharma is pretty tough.
Did you both go out of state or in state? And are there scholarships or grants for either option? Where could I find some? Sorry for all the questions.
No, this is actually great. So
yeah.
I went out of state, but I got a scholarship for in-state tuition. So the state I went to was a public state. I went to University of Kentucky. And at that time, if you had like I think it was a 3.5 or something or above an undergrad, they would let you waive the out-of-state tuition. So out-of-state tuition was twice as much, but they would waive that for you if you maintain that grade point average through PA school. Okay, and so I was able to go out of state but still get that scholarship, and that was for any graduate program, not just the PA program there, with that. And actually I had a couple people in my class that actually moved to Kentucky and worked for a year to gain in-state residency because it was literally half the price of the out-of-state. So that's what a lot of people in my school did. They're like, oh, I just worked here for a year as a dietitian or whatever their degree was in, and that way I had in-state residency and I didn't have to worry about it.
So my undergrad was in Florida State, so I went out of state. I went to a school in Knoxville, South College, Knoxville, and it's a private program, so I don't think that there was any
there's no difference.
Yeah, there's no difference in tuition.
And so, like, if you go private, like in-state, out-of-state, they don't care, right? But if you go public, a lot of times that they'll have preference points sometimes too for people in state. So each school's going to be a little bit different. I was blessed with the fact that the school I chose did have that kind of scholarship waived. And there are some schools, and it'll say on the website, they have scholarships for like military or for rural or for people who come from the community. Yep. It is far between though. Like in undergrad, how you have tons and tons of scholarships that you can apply for, like your redheaded science major or whatever. Like, I mean, they have all kinds of scholarships. I applied for
that a real one?
Oh, it was a real one. It was a real one.
Fake red?
Hey, it all counts, right? So anybody wants to be redhead. And so there's just not as many opportunities, which I understand can be scary because most programs won't let you work. But I can just tell you that if you graduate and become a PA, like you will at least be able to pay off your student loans, unlike some degrees where you can't kind of make a living wage and you owe, this much. So I think it's really smart to be thinking about that kind of stuff. And yes, apply for everything and just check into the PA schools. And man, the price of PA schools, they vary. There's ones that are more affordable and ones that are way up here. So when deciding what schools to apply to, look at cost of attendance and look at total cost of attendance. So I'm talking about the technology fees, the rotation fees, like all that kind of stuff, because that really, really does matter. Because the government will only let you borrow so much through the FAFSA program, right? And then you have to kind of go through like private loans, and that the interest on that can get pretty crazy. And then if you have to go unsubsidized, the interest on that can get crazy. So so definitely there's really smart things for you guys to be thinking about, right? Oh, hey
Hi,
Mitchie.
Michael.
Hey, Aline. Okay, any other questions about anything about Katie's journey, anything about PA school that you're just kind of wondering? You're new to this path and have a B in Gen Chem 1 and 2 in bio. Should I be worried at all? Okay.
I want you to reach out to me, DM me, and I will send you a Zoom link to meet with us on Zoom to discuss your personal grades. We don't want you to have to feel uncomfortable about sending your grades out in a chat. So just DM us and we'll send you a Calendly link to schedule a meeting with us over Zoom.
Yeah, but don't do anything drastic now. We'll just do a little free consult and kind of tell you what we think about that. So we are totally willing to do that. To plan on taking more science classes? Yes. Okay, so the more science classes you take, the better. And a lot of schools have a list of recommended science classes, and they say we strongly encourage you to take these. And it just looks so good if you do that, because it's like, oh, this person is really, really committed to being a PA. They went above and beyond. They didn't need this for their major, and they still took it. Like, they're still doing this. They did medical terminology. They did micro. They did this kind of stuff. They did biochem, organic chem. And it's not like something that you're never going to use. So those kind of things are also going to be useful in PA programs. So one, you're setting yourself up to get accepted. And two, you're setting yourself up for success, because the more knowledge, again, you have coming in, the better it's going to be, right?
I've got a question for you. Yeah. Where would you love to see the PA profession go in the future?
Oh my gosh, that is fantastic. Well, I know the PA profession has kind of made its way to New Zealand, but it's still pretty new.
You stole mine.
Oh, I love New Zealand, guys. Went there like last year. It was amazing. But anyways, but I think they don't actually, I don't know, like how their PA schools are pretty new. So I'd love it to get like a toehold in New Zealand, because I could go over there and legit live. So what about you?
So even in my personal statement that I wrote for PA school, my passion is to get the PA profession international. Like, there is no reason the PA career shouldn't be in every country of the world.
Yeah. So fun fact, UK here, University of Kentucky, helped like establish the first PA program in UK, England. Well, I was there.
Cool. Very cool.
The other UK, right? By the way, best way to prep for PA school, I'm first semester junior. Okay, So you got CNA experience, you've got EKG experience. That is great. We tell everybody that once you get accepted, the number one thing you can do is study A&P, like review A&P. And I know that sounds like super tedious, right? But I'm telling you, when you come in and they start on day one, like you just graduated and you just aced your A&P exam, and now we're going to start talking about more, you're going to wish you had taken our advice and reviewed. I promise you, we have so many students who are like 2 hours in, they're like, yeah, you guys were right. Like, wish I would have reviewed a little bit more instead of had fun this summer. So reviewing A&P is just going to really set you up, really set you up. If you've taken micro, reviewing that kind of stuff, like gram-negative, gram-positive, will really help you with pharm as well.
Great question. What does accreditation probation mean? Is this a school I shouldn't be applying to? Fabulous question.
Yeah, so probation means that they have
haven't met certain standards that the ARCPA, which is our accrediting body, require.
Yeah, so and sometimes you can get that at first, or you can lose your accreditation by becoming probation. And so basically that means, hey, you haven't met our standards. And sometimes it's just administration stuff, and sometimes it's not. And the thing about probation, that if you put on probation and you don't show compliance at the next visit, you can be unaccredited. So,
which is bad.
Right. So if I was a student, I'd be very hesitant to apply to a program that was on probation. Now, these programs have incentive to get off probation. Like, they will do everything they can to get off probation, okay? And 99% of the times, they do, okay? The good news is, if you're in a program, they have to teach you out. So, like, let's say my program were to lose accreditation tomorrow. The students that are already in the program, they are obligated to teach out. So they can't just be like, sorry, program's gone. They have to teach you out. But I would be careful about that. I'm not saying don't apply, but don't only apply to those programs, because you are taking a risk.
How do you check accreditation? The ARCPA website. So it's like arc-pa. Yada, yada, yada. But just Google ARCPA program accreditation, and it'll give you a list of all of the programs and what each one has and when their next checkpoint by ARC is.
Yeah, and it's all alphabetized. So if you're like, hey, I want to go to the University of Wyoming, you go to use, and it'll say it was accredited first on this date. This is their last site visit. This is what they have, and this is when we're going to see them again. Okay,
super helpful.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely check that out. How do we check? Okay. Yeah, check accreditation. So that's a big thing, and it's always changing, because there's 268 schools or something, and so every year a couple of schools get site visits where the ARCPA comes in and looks at them, and they either get continued probation or provisional, which means they're like new. So new programs get provisional, which means, yes, we think you're going to be compliant, but you have to be on provisional for a few years to make sure you iron things out before you get full. Okay.
What are the best ways to receive patient contact hours during the pandemic? So I love two particular jobs in this category right now: phlebotomy and CNA. They're always in need. Yes. Always. So yes, always. They do require a certification depending on which state you live in, but they are always in need, and they are fantastic patient experience hours.
Yeah, like if you can do a CNA's job and still maintain passion for like PA, it's a hard job, okay? Then we love you. We're like, oh, they've got the heart of gold. Do admissions board check your social media? Oh, you bet we do.
Take down those party pictures. Yes. Which, by the way, we wish we were there. It looked really fun.
Yes. Yeah. And we actually do this like before we even invite you for an interview. Yeah. So if we are like, oh, hey, I wonder what this person's like. They seem really cool. And we'll check your Facebook. And it's not that you can't have fun stuff on there, but if like every picture of you drunk, okay, you're not going to get an interview.
So I reviewed this one girl's CASPA application years ago, and there was just something a little bit off, but she had great grades, great everything else, but I just wasn't sure there was something a little bit off. So I looked up her social media, and it was her like naked standing over like somebody pretending to be dead.
Oh, what?
Like, yeah, it was
like Halloween, or
it was a little concerning. Yeah.
So yes, we do check your social media, because remember, anything out there is free,
fair game.
And so be yourself on Facebook, but just be mindful that employers check that too. And like they'll have like their secretary friend you or whatever, and even if they're not your friends, they can find it. Okay.
Employers do that all the time.
Employers do that all the time. And you're also gonna have to pass a background check before you get accepted into the PA program. So what they'll say is like, yeah, we want you in our class, but it's conditional. You have to make sure you send us, all this paperwork and all this kind of stuff, and you have to pass your background check. And so if you don't pass your background check, then they can deny you that seat.
So a note about that: if you have a felony on your record, you cannot get into PA school. If you have a misdemeanor, most programs are going to require you to get that expunged. And the reason why is because by the time you get to clinical rotations, lots and lots, actually the majority of rotations will not accept you into the rotation, which means that the program has you and then you can't actually graduate because you can't get a rotation because rotations won't accept you because you have a record. So get it expunged and then you won't have a problem.
Right. It won't show up on your background check if you get it expunged.
Do you work as PAs now? Yes, we do. What specialty?
Orthopedics.
Yep. Emergency medicine, urgent care, aesthetics, regenerative medicine.
Look at everything.
Shiny object syndrome.
Look at everything. She loves everybody. She loves everybody. Yeah. Yeah, so there's some good questions about admissions, just because, I mean, I didn't know what I was going to have to pass a drug test and get fingerprinted and all this stuff before I went into PA school.
Several drug tests.
Yes. So. Yeah, and so some rotation sites will actually require a second background check before, and that way if something has popped up during PA school, that will show on that.
So don't go to Colorado and eat brownies.
Yes. Drugs and alcohol are a big thing because providers are at kind of higher risk for substance abuse. And of course we have DEA, so we have, just ways to get things. And so those are really, really big things that if they show up on background checks, a lot of hospitals won't take you, a lot of jobs won't take you. It's hard to get credentialed. So just think about those kind of things. But again, anything you get expunged are things that aren't going to actually show up on your record. So we recommend that. We've had we've had students that have gone back with lawyers and gotten things expunged and then requested a new background check and that kind of thing.
Would you go over the specific specialties? Yes, but we will save it for tomorrow night. You guys should totally join us tomorrow. It'll be around like 8:45, 9. We're going to be celebrating, so join us for the celebration. Bring your champagne too, and we'll have like a virtual toast.
Oh my gosh, it'll be so much fun.
Yeah.
Bring your champagne or whatever you like, your grape juice. I don't know. I don't know. It might be study night for them. It'll be so much fun. That's so much fun. We're going to have a virtual toast tomorrow, around 9 o'clock or something, Eastern time. Not sure which you guys are. And we'll talk about, all the different specialties. I mean, orthopedics the best, but we can talk about them all. I'm just saying.
Do you review personal statements if somebody needed help? Yes, we do. So, and we don't source them out. So if you need your personal statement reviewed and edited, you can send it to us and we do it. We never source it out. We do an edit and send it back to you and you correct it and then send it back to us for one final edit. And you can DM us for more information about that or see our website, prepaclinic.com. Hi, Emma. What are your names? I'm Katie Bean.
I'm Beth McIntyre. We're pre-PA suit.
Oh, make sure in your personal statement that you say why you want to be a PA. Yes. That is like one of the most common things. Like there's like a hair on me, sorry. You don't have to tell you don't have to go into huge amounts of depth in what your what the job is or like everything you know about being a PA, but why? Why do you want to be a PA? Why are you passionate about the PA field? Hello, Skylar. And make sure you spell physician assistant correctly.
Oh my gosh, yes. And spell check, guys.
Yes, spell check, please.
If you don't spell check, they're not going to even finish looking at your application. Yeah.
And it's super frustrating because it looks lazy.
Yeah. And we know that it was probably just whatever, but they have so many applications that we go through, and it's just, if there's something off about it or something that makes it hard to read, they're going to say, okay, next. But yeah, definitely keep in mind the purpose of the personal statement because people write some amazing, interesting stories, but it's not about them wanting to become a PA, right? So relate it back to the whole, you should accept me because I want to be a PA because, so sort of relate it back to that, for sure. So that's probably the number one thing we see. Like people's personal statements sometimes, aren't kind of in the right
frame of mind?
Yeah. Frame of mind and right reference. I don't even know how to say that, but just aren't what we're looking for. So we're looking for why you want to be a PA, why we should accept you. Your passion needs to shine through.
Yes.
Okay.
And your excitement.
Yes. Your desire.
Yeah.
All that.
And so if you need help reviewing or editing, send it our way. And
Science and Sirens. I like that.
I know, that's fun, isn't it?
Do you guys do? Actually,
we do.
We do a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Everything. We do everything you need to get into PA school.
Yeah. So we do practice interviews. And so one of the things here, too, is we also kind of give you, during the practice interviews, we'll interview you like we're really interviewing you, and then give you some ideas of other questions that might be asked. during interviews. It's very kind of professional and formal during the interview, and then we'll kind of talk about it afterwards, because sometimes it's not even what you say, it's how you say it. And if you're nervous to interview, I promise you everybody is. Like, I was sweating through my clothes, but the more and more you practice, okay, the better you're gonna get. And so I've had students to be like, I don't really want to go to school, should I accept this interview anyways? And I'm like, you accept every interview you get.
Practice.
Because it is practice. If nothing else, it is practice to have someone grill you and you're like, oh, right? And then you can practice how you're going to say, what you're going to say. You can practice it in the mirror.
And your body language is huge.
Yes. Don't roll your eyes, man. I've had people roll their eyes at questions.
So rude.
And I'm like, okay, we don't want you, right? So those little things can make a big difference. Remember, bring that bottle of water if you need a second to think. Be like, oh, I got to get a drink. And that gives you like 5 seconds to think, right?
Yeah, and also make sure there is a certain way. Let's say you're not like an excellent 4.0, perfect at everything. That's totally okay, but you need to know how to word your answers to highlight what you're strong in.
Yes.
So there is a certain way to do that. Yes, to
Redirect.
So interview skills are like, yeah, you need to practice for sure.
So our rule is if you get an interview, you better be getting that seat.
Yes.
Right? Okay. You better be, because you have like narrowed it down to like a small list, and you were on their hot list.
Yes.
So if you're on their hot list,
there is no reason you shouldn't get the seat if you interview.
Yes.
Because you've done the hardest part.
Right. You've made it through the qualification process where they take 2,000 applications and they interview 200, right? So you've made it that far. So don't give up. How can we prepare for the Casper test? Ooh, so the Casper test isn't something you can study for. It's not like the GRE where you can get a book and you're like, hey, I'm going to do all this kind of stuff. It's basically almost not really a personality test, but an interpersonal social test. And so I guess life is just practice for that.
Yeah.
But there's no book, there's no class, at least right now. There probably will be in the future. But not every school requires that either. And so it'll be interesting to see how they use that, because that's relatively a new test. But just, I guess, answer honestly, not who you think you should be, or don't answer what you think you should do. Answer truthfully what you would actually do, because these kind of tests, they have like tricks. So they ask the same question like 5 ways, and if you answer differently, they're like, they're trying to game us. They have it like written in there. And they're all interviewed, and they're kind of like different people look at the Casper. It's not just one person grading them all. And so, all that kind of stuff, human error and all that kind of stuff can go in there. So there's no real like guide or anything we should say, except for just practice answering hard questions and your eloquence and your dictation and all that kind of stuff.
Do you recommend any GRE books? Yes, the one you're actually going to use. So if it's fun, that's the one you want. If it's going to get you into that book, that's the one you want. So many times, I'm totally guilty of it. When I need to study for something, I'll buy a book and then never open it. So just one that's fun for you. Interview books are a little bit more tricky, because interview skills are much more about how you interact with other people, and can't honestly really be taught from a book. There's tactics for it that you can absolutely learn from a book, but mock interviews are the best way to go as far as interviews.
Yeah, and even if it's like a job interview, like you're interviewing for a CNA, that is still a professional interview, okay? And so even if it's not a PA school interview, every interview you have for anything in your life, put on your professional clothes, like, act the way you would act, and it's all just practice, guys. Practice, 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 just like everything else.
Susan, do you guys have any merch that you're selling? Actually, that's why we're going to celebrate tomorrow virtually, Champagne Toast, because on Friday our book comes out, and it's everything that we have noticed students struggle with trying to get into PA school. Being on the admissions committee of a PA program, students make the same mistakes over and over, and there's no need for it, because most of them are excellent candidates that we want to join us in the PA profession. So yeah, Friday.
It'd be really cool to like get some sweatpants or something.
Oh yeah, like merchandise.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Actually, let us know if you guys like.
Ooh, a buff. We should do a buff. Yeah.
That's so like. Actually, I really like that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that'd be fancy. So maybe we'll come out with that, right?
Oh, is that what merch? I thought.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm not cool. Not cool.
I'm way cooler. I have no sense of fashion, but I'm cooler.
From your opinion, do you think 2021 and 2022 PA enrollment cycle interviews will be available via online? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
I'd say 2021, yeah. I'm hoping by 2022 we're going to be like traveling the world again.
I hope.
But I think until it's very definitively sure schools don't want to put you in the position of not being able to interview because you're coming from a state that won't allow it or something, and because that doesn't seem really fair. And so I think for 2021, probably for most of them, as soon as we can get back to in-person interviews, I promise you PA schools will go back to that because it's just a different dynamic. But I'm thinking of at least for the next 6 months, probably, until the travel bans are lifted, because they don't want, like, it's not fair to interview someone from like Alabama who can come but not California who can't come, because they're not getting the same equivalent experience. And so schools don't want to do that. They want to try to either do them all online or all virtual or all in person. And so I think it'll be a few months, but I'm betting for the 2021 cycle, yes. 2022, I'm really hoping that we're back to normal.
Please,
Yeah.
please be back to normal. Where can we get your book? Yes, so when it releases on Friday, there will be a link in the bio, and you can click on that, or it will be available directly from our website, prepaclinic.com. And you are so much cooler than I am, because Susan says long sleeves, pants, and t-shirts, so I'm not with the lingo.
Yes! I love that. I love that.
That would be fun. We should do that.
We really should.
Yeah.
Man, we really should. We need like a catchphrase. You guys help us think of a cool catchphrase.
Oh yeah, something fun though.
Yeah,
like that fits our personalities.
Yeah, something cool. Something cool. I love like medical merch. Oh, I would show you my socks, but that's kind of rude.
You should let me see your socks.
Oh, well, they're moose socks today. Well, I had my medical ones on yesterday, I think, or maybe this morning. Don't judge me. I love crazy socks. Crazy socks.
Oh, we should do crazy socks.
Okay.
That's great. Yep.
Great. Thank you so much, Susan, for that.
It's a brilliant idea.
I love it. I love it. So paramedic, sweet.
Yeah, that's awesome.
250 hours of EMT. We'll have our 800 hours. Oh man, yes. No, that's great, because you're gonna have over 1,000 hours, and as a paramedic,
yeah, you guys get amazing experience. So
Yes.
you're on totally the right track.
you are on track, girl. Like apply, okay.
And way to go, because that's a really intense position, especially right now. So kudos to you. You're awesome.
We've had some paramedics that come through our program, and man, they rock it out, like our simulation, and because they don't get flustered about stuff. And so paramedic, that's legit. I think you are going to be able to, write your ticket probably to where you want to go, because that is really, really some amazing experience. So I don't think 1,000 hours is a small amount. There's some schools that only require 250 or 500. So it all depends on what schools you're applying to. Some do require 2,000. So just don't apply to those schools.
You're awesome, girl.
Yeah,
Keep
I love it.
Yes. So Susan, we also do a one-on-one application review, which is where you send us your entire application, every single bit and piece of it. Again, it's not sourced out. Beth and I both go through it with super detailed comb.
Yes.
And then we meet for 1 hour live through Zoom, and we go through all of your questions and all of our recommendations, every single little thing down to the nitpicky details on how to improve your application and what you need to do. So yes, you can check that out again on our website. It's prepaclinic.com.
Yeah, because sometimes just like one thing, like, oh, I didn't know I needed to do that, could just skyrocket your application.
Yes.
And we talk about like what schools you apply to. So we go really, really in depth because we don't want you wasting your money on another application cycle. We want you to get in this time. And so if you can do something between now and the next application cycle to just make you that much more competitive, then that's what we want for you. And we want you to get in sooner rather than later. Because we remember how it was. Like waiting to get in PA school is brutal. Yeah. It's brutal because you feel like you're on hold because you can't move forward because you're meant to do this and just are kind of waiting for the universe's permission. So,
and you just don't know. Like we didn't even know. Like applying, of course we didn't know. But then working on admissions and on faculty of a PA program and knowing what to look for now, we're like, I totally get it now. So you just don't know. So one-on-one application review, we do that. For sure.
Yeah, because before we actually worked in academia, our only experience was like, hey, we know what we did to get in PA school. So we know it worked for us, but we didn't really know behind the scenes. Now we know the behind the scenes. And, why do they ask that? Why is this important? And why should you phrase it this way and never use that word? That type of thing. So,
when do prerequisites for PA schools typically expire?
Yeah, so most will say, especially with A&P, some say 5 years, some say 10 years. There are some schools that say 3 years, okay? So I would say probably 5 years. What do you think is probably average?
Yeah, 5 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm. And it is different per schools. But if you took A&P 10 years ago, it's going to be really rough first semester. So do yourself a favor, and not just because the PA schools require it, do it for you too. Like, do it as a refresher. Do it at a community college. That's sometimes cheaper. Just it's really, really going to help because PA is second career for a lot of people.
Yes.
A lot of people have been teachers or been
Nutritionists.
engineers. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and they're like, hey, it took a long time ago. So, it's not just, that's the reason why they want you to take it within the last 5 years, or some schools are 10 years. And the reason for that is just because it sets you up for success. Don't set yourself up for failure. When you finally get in PA school, be ready to be in PA school, okay? What is the GPA range they usually look at for an applicant? Okay, so that's going to depend on the school, right?
Yep.
And so, like, a newer program is going to have a lower GPA, and some of the other programs are going to have a higher one. Most of them are like 3.0, 3.2 is kind of the lower end, but there are some that are 2.8 or 2.75, and there are some that are 3.5. So it kind of, if you're in the 3.0, you have a 3.0 to 3.5, you're pretty competitive in a lot of schools, okay? Not every school, but pretty competitive in a lot of schools. So if you're in that range, then say, I'm good with that. What can I work on? I can work on my patient care hours. I can work on my personal statement. I can work on my shadowing. I can work on my GRE, okay? So if you're pretty in the competitive range, you got a 3.3, then, you're probably good. Some schools do require 3.5, but just don't apply to those schools. Because once you get your undergraduate degree, it's really hard to change your GPA. You can take like 5 classes and it's not going to move a whole lot.
Yeah.
Just because you have so many hours. It's just math, right? Math from that. So you're going to have to prove other ways that you are ready. And patient care hours is probably the best way to do that.
Let's see. Thank you so much. That makes me feel so much more confident. Yes.
Yes.
Science
Woo!
and sirens. Girl, you got this.
Yes. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Like, let us know what you get into and what school you get into, because we're just, man,
We want to cheer you on.
We do want to cheer you on, guys. We want to cheer you on.
And Susan, yes, absolutely. Just DM us anytime you're ready. Guys, tomorrow, virtual toasting. Around this time, 8:45, 9, so like an hour ago Eastern time, but 8:45, 9 Eastern time, we'll go live for a virtual toast, and we hope you can join us. This has been awesome. You guys are amazing. Great questions, and
ooh, way to go, Susan. Yeah. What? I love it. You're rocking it, girl.
Yep.
You have your eye on the ball, and I love it. So you are making waves, and this is what you need to do. Decide what you want to do and work towards it.
Yes.
That's what we love to see, that kind of dedication.
You have a dream for a reason.
Yes.
And if being a PA is your dream, it's given to you for a reason.
Yes.
So keep at it.
Mm-hmm. We have so many people who just take like one rejection and they're like, oh, I'm just not good enough. And I'm like, no, that is not, it's not a rejection on you. They don't know you. They just looked at your application. Okay. So if you don't get an interview, don't take that as a rejection. Okay. That they don't know you. They don't know the wonderful person you are. That's why you need to get that interview so you can get in front of them and show them the wonderful person you are. And when you practice letting your personality out and all that kind of stuff. So, because, we're interacting with you and we're like, oh man, we love these students. And we do our one-on-one CASP applications. We're like, oh man, we just love you.
Yeah.
But that's because we got to know you, right? And so on your paper, it's hard to get to know you. And so you got to get that interview so you can get in front of them and they can get to know you and put a face to a name. Because otherwise you're just a name, right? Yeah. You're just numbers and a personal statement. And we really, really think that when they get to know you, that's when you clinch the deal, right? Get in front of them.
Yep. And you got it.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Awesome.
So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a fabulous night, and thank you for joining us.
Okay. Bye, guys.
You guys offer mock interviews? Yes, we do.
Oh, show.
Yeah, prepaclinic.com.
Love it.
See you tomorrow.
All right. Bye.